Let's go to Minnesota, which, like Wisconsin, also has a 5.5 win total set by the sports book. We've got Kirk Shiraka gone. Talked about it a lot during the spring. And Mike Sanford, mixed results. Mike Sanford coming in as the new offensive coordinator. But I do think that you look at the return of Rashad Bateman, Tanner Morgan being there, man, it's there. You got a stacked deck to be able to be successful here offensively. And PJ Fleck, offensive coach. So we'll see if that ends up becoming a storyline, if the Golden Gophers cannot be dominant and be successful on offense. Defensively, they are young. They are inexperienced. Inside that coaching staff, they do believe they have talent. I think that, from my opinion, ever since Joe Rossi took over as the defensive coordinator in the shakeup of late 2018, it played pretty well, 14-3 as a team since he was promoted to defensive coordinator late in that 2018 season. 5.5. Tom, where are you going here with the Golden? Yeah, fraudulent Fernelli. Where are you going with the fraudulent ass?
Where the rivalry continues.
Under. It's the same thing I mentioned with Wisconsin. I don't think any of these teams are getting out of here with fewer than 3 losses in this division. So if the total's 5.5, I got to go under. And it's the Minnesota defense is going to determine what kind of season this is for the Gophers, because talent-wise, this is probably the most talented offense in the division when you look at the quarterback and the receiver spot and the offensive line and a couple of the backs that they have at the running back position. There's a ton of talent on this team, and there's a high ceiling with the offense. But like, as you mentioned, Chip, the defense is very young and inexperienced. Like, if you look at Bill Connolly's preseason production returning production rankings from, way back in the long ago, Minnesota's offense ranked 13th in returning production. Its defense ranks 125th. So there's a lot of new faces that are going to be in important places. And I think if that defense can step up and get, play well and just be good enough, this is a Minnesota team that can go 6-2. It can go 7-1, and maybe it could even go 8-0 and win the West Division. It's too big of a variable for me to believe in that confidently that those are the likely outcomes. And when you go through the schedule, I think they getting Michigan in the first week of the season, I think, is good for Minnesota.
At home.
Because Michigan, we've got a lot of questions about them where they don't have much returning production either. So I think that's a good spot if you've got to play Michigan from the West. And then you get a pretty nice other crossover game the very next week at Maryland. I think that's a very winnable game. Illinois on the road, winnable. Iowa at home, winnable. Purdue at home, I think that's a win. Wisconsin on the road, that's a little iffy. Northwestern, winnable. Nebraska on the road, that gets a little iffy. But there's no game on this schedule where I look at and say they can't win. But there's also no game on this schedule I look at that say they can't lose, because even that Maryland game's on the road, and it's a week after playing Michigan, and it's the second week of the season when you've had a weird buildup. So I think that this team is really good. I don't think they're fraudulent. I think they're a top 25 team. I think they're a team that can compete for the Big Ten West. And I think that they're a team that could get to the Big Ten championship game. I just don't think any team in the Big Ten West can go 6-2 more often than it goes 5-3 this year.
Clip it, save it. Not just Fernelli comes back with the new face in 2020, not fraudulent.
He's just trying to save face for our loyal list, our little 8-year-old listener. How old is our boy?
It was the 4th grade show and tell, and now I guess he's a 5th grader at this point for the 2020 season.
How are they doing show and tell this year, though? Like, are they doing it on Zoom? Like, hey, look, this is my mouse. Yeah.
No. It's way more dangerous on Zoom because you've got more to be able to pick up, and it just doesn't stop. When you're at the front of the classroom with your one item, you got to get it done. I think that you lose control of the clock, bad clock management when you're doing show and tell on Zoom.
I thought you were going to say it's more dangerous on Zoom because of what happened to that one reporter.
Oh, yeah, that too. For the uninitiated, for the new listeners, just as a refresher, there is a 5th grader in Minnesota that what is his what's the backstory here?
The Gophers got off to a really good start last year, but they were doing it against a very weak schedule, and
they were tied with South Dakota State late in the game. They were it was all close wins against teams that weren't good.
And my metrics that I used to rank the teams were suggesting that this team is not as good as its record suggests. So I might have called them the fraudulent ass Gophers a few times on the podcast. And there was a fourth grader in Minnesota who did not take kindly to that. And he started referring to me to his classmates during show and tell as fraudulent Fernelli.
Right.
And running around the house during Minnesota wins, chanting fraudulent.
That's right. That was the kicker. Yeah.
Yeah. He's a listener who gets to, I guess without the, depending on whether or not they're doing in-person classes, because wasn't it they were listening on the way to school? That was the time when they would take it in. So, it's, I hope you get to listen to this one. I don't know whether it's like listening sessions during your lunch break or what, but you just heard Tom Fernelli say that Minnesota's not fraudulent. He did
while taking the under. I mean, I think he was just playing, just stooping to the fifth grader, cowering in fear.
Please don't beat me up.
Please don't call me fraudulent. All right. So this is a similar case as Wisconsin. I think Minnesota looks 5-3 to me. I think that and in some ways I might even see them as a more likely candidate to get to the over because of that offense. I do think Kirk Ciarrocca's departure is not irrelevant.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's something. Sorry, I'm chewing my gum. I think that Kirk Ciarrocca's departure is not irrelevant. I think that's something that we gotta get answered. Is how seamless is this transition to the offensive coordinator spot going to be? But I expect the offense to be really good, and PJ Fleck is, he's proven a lot in a short period of time. And the thing about their defense, while they are replacing a lot, their secondary is really good, I think. I mean, they return starters across the board, at least in several spots. I think Benjamin St. Juste is really good. I think Tyler Nubin stepping in is really good. I think that's a group, and particularly when we're valuing receivers on offense and secondary on defense, that's a group that gives me some confidence in Minnesota this year, perhaps being able to surprise us all again. But it just goes back to the Minnesota deal. I think these teams are all a little bit too close for me to confidently go over the highest numbers on the board, regardless of who you assign them to. I think that's kind of where I'm at. And so I'll take the under here for Minnesota as well.
Oh, let's go over. There's one team that I think I've already found that is skewing. We're standing.
You got some losses out there.
Yeah. Well, Chip's got somebody going 0-8 over here.
Yeah, no, I think that I think that we're off on how we view Nebraska, and we'll get to Nebraska in a little bit. But I think we're just in different places on the Cornhuskers, and that's definitely throwing a wrinkle into how we view the schedule, because I think that there are 6 wins and 2 toss-ups and 0 losses. I feel really good about the general trajectory of lose big, lose small, win big. And I kind of feel like there was a little bit of a shift during October of 2019, and they came up short. Ultimately, Minnesota came up short. It was, pouring down snow, and they couldn't get the last win they needed to be able to reach the Big Ten championship game. I think that Minnesota is the Big Ten West champs. And so I feel a little bit more confident in them in some of those tight games. You look at the, like Iowa, that's going to be at home. Purdue, that's going to be at home. At Wisconsin, it's going to be really tough and likely decide the division. But I got Minnesota going over, and I think they're the Big Ten West champs. I will admit that if that offense, like I said in the intro, if that offense takes a significant step back, that is wildly disappointing. And if I am a Minnesota fan of any age, then I would be very upset that Mike Sanford was not able to maintain some of those same they call Kirk Ciarrocca an RPO guru. He just does a great job of stressing defenses, and Tanner Morgan looked awesome in that offense. So, and you got Rashad Bateman, you got Tanner Morgan, you got a good offensive line. Offense clearly matters in a very big way here in this COVID season. I will be going over for the Golden Gophers.